In this video, we'll be taking a look at 3 NFL games happening on September 24th, 2023, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games. So 2 picks for each game, 6 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 3 NFL games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Dallas Cowboys versus Arizona Cardinals. On Sunday afternoon, the Dallas Cowboys and Arizona Cardinals meet at State Farm Stadium to kick off Week 3. The Cowboys danced over the New York Jets 30-10 last weekend, remaining undefeated. The Cardinals blew a huge lead, falling 31-28 to the New York Giants. The Arizona Cardinals squandered a 28-7 third-quarter lead and suffered numerous defensive breakdowns as they lost 31-28 against the New York Giants. The game looked like a surefire win, but they could not generate any offense in the second half. In come the Dallas Cowboys, who have been lights out defensively over their first 2 games. Sure, that was against Zach Wilson and Daniel Jones, but Joshua Dobbs is nobody you should fear. Tony Pollard had 72 yards rushing last week against a stingy Jets front, but he will get a lot more run in this game. And with Dallas building an early lead and stifling the Cardinals' offense, the second half touches will be there for the taking. Dallas has allowed 10 points over their first 2 games. Prescott has silenced doubters with 2 efficient, turnover-prone games. He's even more important to Dallas after Diggs' injury, and I expect him to rise to the occasion on Sunday against an inferior opponent. Offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer's new offensive system has helped him get the ball out more quickly to the boys' skill players, and the ground game has been tough to slow down too. The Cardinals can't be trusted to keep pace with the Dallas offense. Dobbs has some experience, but he's not the kind of veteran who can keep a mediocre roster in the game against a Super Bowl contender, especially one that's been firing on all cylinders. The Diggs news doesn't prevent the Cowboys' offense from rolling all over the Cardinals. Spread numbers like these in an NFL game can be tricky, but Dallas is the far better team here. I'll give Arizona some credit for fighting in the first 2 weeks, but as well as Joshua Dobbs has performed, exceeding expectations out of the gate, Dallas defense is no joke and will be ready to pounce from the opening kickoff. I'm not high on the Cowboys at all, but there's simply no denying the results up to this point in the year. So the Dallas Cowboys to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Dallas offense has actually been pretty mediocre, even though they've put up some big point totals. They've been coasting on their defense, and I wouldn't be surprised if Dak Prescott struggles a bit here against a Cardinals defense that is better than most people realize. On the flip side, I'd be shocked if Josh Dobbs doesn't struggle. The Cowboys have made mincemeat out of Daniel Jones and Zach Wilson, forcing them to throw 5 interceptions while sacking them 10 times over the past 2 weeks. Micah Parsons is going to get after the quarterback no matter what you throw at him. And Arizona may opt to be conservative here against a ferocious pass rush with a quarterback who has only been in their system for a few weeks. The Cowboys opened the season with a 40-0 beatdown of the National Football Conference East rival New York Giants, and then followed it up with a suffocating defensive effort against Zach Wilson and the Jets. Joshua Dobbs is not an upper-level NFL starter, and facing one of the best defenses in the NFL, Dobbs and the Cardinals will struggle to generate anything offensively. James Conner did a lot of damage against the Giants, but the Cowboys are a lot stingier up front. I expect long, back-breaking drives from the Cowboys and a suffocating defensive effort. With this game staying well below the projected number, this one should be pretty sleepy. Under the projected total is our full game total pick. Chicago Bears versus Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs play host to the Chicago Bears on Sunday afternoon in an American Football Conference versus National Football Conference showdown from Arrowhead Stadium. The Chiefs were able to get back into the win column last week after a shocking defeat in the opener, but still have things to work on. For the Bears, it has been a dreadful start to the season, and having to face the defending Super Bowl champs isn't likely to make things go better. The Chiefs have dominated this series since Mahomes joined the league, and while the Bears have some pieces, until they can put it together, this is a game that Kansas City should roll along in. The Chiefs lost in Week 1 against the Lions, but that was more due to some unfortunate mishaps than a poor performance. They proved that defeat was a fluke and were able to get back on track against the Jaguars last week. This week they will have a much easier test against the Bears, who look like being one of the worst teams in the league and have given up the 4th most total yards per game through the first 2 weeks. The Chiefs got a major upgrade at the tight end position last week with Travis Kelce back in the lineup after an injury that kept him out against the Lions, and he should make his presence felt. Kelce makes this offense 10 times better, and he is Patrick Mahomes' security blanket. Many people say the Chiefs' offense isn't clicking at the moment, but I'm expecting that to change on Sunday with a comprehensive performance against a Bears defense that has allowed the 65 points so far this season, the second most in the league. The Bears looked mediocre for the second consecutive week as they fell to 0-2, losing 27-17 on the road against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have lost 12 straight games dating back to last season, and there is a lot of turmoil in Chicago. They lost their defensive coordinator, and Justin Fields appears to be regressing in an offense he has repeatedly questioned. Chris Jones returned to the Kansas City lineup after missing the first week holding out on a new contract and made an immediate impact. He will wreak havoc on an ineffective Bears offensive line all game. Chicago gained only 236 yards of total offense and only 67 rushing yards. And facing a resurgent Chiefs defense, you will see a similar output from an offense that just cannot seem to get out of their own way. The offensive line's issues and injuries for Chicago are a major talking point, especially with Jones back in the fold for the Chiefs, while the lack of time with Fields is only likely to hurt him even more in this matchup. On the defensive end, the secondary is far too inexperienced to slow down Mahomes, especially as him and Kelce continue to build together after Kelce's return from injury. The Bears are a mess on both sides of the ball at the moment, and Justin Fields is not looking like the quarterback he was expected to be. He already has 3 interceptions and a fumble, and the Bears can't seem to find a groove and get in rhythm. To make things worse, the defense can't stop anyone from scoring. Chicago is among the worst in the league in most categories. The Bears have been awful on both sides of the ball through 2 games, and they were both winnable matches against the Packers and Buccaneers. The Bears have failed to cover 9 of their last 11 games as double-digit underdogs. We know what the Kansas City Chiefs are capable of when in good form, and they're going to only get better with Travis Kelce and Chris Jones back. Massive line, especially for this early in the season still, but there's quite a gap between the Bears and Chiefs. This game is littered with matchups that fall in Kansas City's favor, and with this game being played at Arrowhead as well, will be one where Kansas City comes out on top. The Chiefs will dominate the line on both sides, and with too many weapons and playmakers, the Bears will simply struggle to keep pace and control this game in any capacity as the Chiefs roll to a blowout victory on Sunday. So the Kansas City Chiefs to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Chris Jones returned to the defensive line last week after receiving a new contract, and the Chiefs' defense looked drastically different than it did Week 1 against the Detroit Lions. They held the Jags to 9 points, and the only reason the game remained close was due to the Chiefs coughing up the ball 3 times. Travis Kelce returned to the lineup after missing Kansas City's Week 1 home loss to the Lions and caught one of Mahomes' touchdowns to go with 4 catches, but only had 24 yards. Look for him to get a lot more looks and most of the points coming from the Chiefs' side in this game, as I expect the defense to dominate. The Bears have one of the NFL's worst defenses through the first few weeks, and given the Chiefs' ability to find success in the pass rush, those woes are only going to be magnified in this one. The Bears will be lucky to make it to double-digit points in this one, and while Kansas City does have the big names, to expect them to get to 30-plus points in a game that expects to be a blowout doesn't align. Beyond that, they have struggled to score consistently themselves through the first 2 weeks and may start slow as they work through things. The total number has gone under in 7 straight meetings between these 2 clubs. Games with the Chiefs are expected to have plenty of points, but that won't be the case in this one. Under the projected total is our full game total pick. Pittsburgh Steelers versus Las Vegas Raiders. Sunday Night Football will feature the Steelers and the Raiders in Week 3 action. The Raiders are coming off of a big loss to the Bills in Week 2, but the Raiders secured their first win of the season in Week 1 by edging the Broncos by 1 point. This game will be Las Vegas' first home game of the season. The Steelers come into Sunday's game by defeating the Browns by 4 points on Monday night. Pittsburgh's defense led the way with 2 touchdowns. We have an interesting matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers facing off against the Las Vegas Raiders in Sin City on Sunday Night Football. These teams have equal 1-1 records, but the Raiders are coming off a horrible loss to the Buffalo Bills. They gave up a total of 38 points and could not stop the run, allowing 183 yards on the ground. The good thing for the Raiders this week is that the Steelers cannot seem to get Najee Harris and the run game going. They are the second worst team running the ball on offense and are averaging less than 50 rushing yards per game. Harris needs to pick up the slack in the run game to help take the pressure off his young quarterback Kenny Pickett. It is going to be hard to win consecutive football games when you can't run the ball, and the Raiders should be able to take advantage of this weak Steelers offense. The Raiders have a solid offense led by quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo and star receiver Davante Adams. Josh Jacobs has gotten off to a slow start running the ball this season, only averaging 1.6 yards per carry, but on Sunday he should be able to buck that trend. He will be facing a Pittsburgh run defense that has allowed the most rushing yards to start off the season. He should be able to run through the Steelers' defense and open up the play-action pass for Garoppolo to find Davante Adams or Jacoby Meyers deep. Through 2 games this season, these are 2 of the worst offenses in the NFL, and they rank as the bottom 2 in rushing yards per game. The most surprisingly thing is, they both have good running back who have underperformed thus far, but the Steelers' rushing defense has been terrible this season, one of the worst in the league, so I fully expect the Raiders to pound the rock with Jacobs. In the first 2 games, they faced 2 top run defenses in Denver and Buffalo, but things should open up for Jacobs in this one. Pittsburgh was able to get their first win of the season last week, but their offense has not looked very good through the first 2 games. The Steelers used 2 defensive touchdowns to get by the Browns, but only put up 255 total yards on offense. The Raiders have also looked rough on the offensive side of the ball, but their defense is allowing about 60 yards fewer per game. I am not impressed with either of these 2 teams, but I am going to take the Raiders at home, as I think their running game will finally get going. Look for Jacobs to dominate on the ground. I'm confident in Jimmy G and the Raiders getting the job done this week. So the Los Angeles Raiders to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Late last year, these 2 teams engaged in a 13-10 rock fight, and not a lot seems to have changed. The Raiders do have a new quarterback in Garoppolo, but he hasn't exactly set the world on fire through 2 games. The fact is, these are 2 of the lowest scoring teams in the NFL, and I expect the Raiders to try and control this game on the ground. The Steelers have gotten gashed by the run. Last week, they couldn't stop Nick Chubb until he got injured, and then they couldn't stop his backup, Jerome Ford, who ran for over 100 yards. There will be many field goals in this game as drives will sputter out. Each team has hit the over once in their first 2 games, but that was because of the offensive success of their opponents as the 49ers and Bills torched them. Jacobs should have a field day, but there will be a lot of long time-consuming possessions. This will be a low-scoring game because of the offensive ineptitude. Defense, and defense along with poor quarterback play will keep this total game score below the set total. Under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.